It is my great pleasure to formally introduce the new head coach of the Florida Gators, Billy Napier.
Scared money don't make money, you know.
We've got a goal here to play a brand of football that creates a great sense of pride. It takes 11 people doing their job. We get to decide our future.
Welcome in, Gator fans. Hey, it's Carlyon here. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch and listen to Building the Gators Back. Billy Napier, a new chapter of Florida football. We're all very excited about it, particularly this year. You know, this is the third year that we've done a Gators look back. And Harrell Harrell has been our great partner in this all 3 years. And once again, if you need a personal injury attorney, call Holt Harrell, 251-1111. They're unbeatable. They're from Jacksonville. Just fantastic people. You couldn't be in better hands. 251-1111. But Harrell Harrell has been with us. We celebrated 96 a couple years ago. We celebrated 91 last year, commemorating the first official SEC title for the Gators. And this year we wanted to do something different with 1010XL 92.5 now being the home of the Florida Gators in Jacksonville. We wanted to take advantage of this new exciting era of Gators football and really give you an idea of Billy Napier's program, talk to everybody involved in it, and give you as clear an idea as possible of what you can expect from the team that you love so much. Because I'm assuming Florida State and Tennessee fans aren't watching this. But if you are, mad credit for scouting the opponent like this. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And that opening really fired me up. Graham Marsh was kind enough to put that together for us. He's going to be producing Building Back the Gators with me. Graham, outstanding work. You're a big Gator fan too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you think?
Class of 20.
Class of 20.
I've been graduated for a year and a half now.
That's right. And
that even feels wild.
And you were a big part of celebrating 91 last year.
I was.
I just never let you talk.
Well. I was on the Hayes Carlyon. Do you remember when Channing Crowder was muzzled by the team?
Yes.
He couldn't talk.
I
was on the muzzle.
That's right.
Last year.
Well, you were a freshman.
Exactly.
And you weren't allowed
true.
to talk.
That's true.
Now you're a sophomore and you can talk. So,
that was a red shirt last year.
Yeah, exactly. But outstanding work once again, and you do. You're such a pleasure to work with, and looking forward to doing another.
Likewise.
Thank you, sir. Another podcast with you, and just wanted to give you guys an idea. Wanted to introduce the concept of what we want to do, who we're going to be talking to, and get you fired up. We're going to have an episode every week like we've done in past summers, leading up to the opener against Utah, which is obviously going to be something that we'll talk a lot about over the course of the next few months because, boy, what an opener that's going to be for the Florida Gators. If Billy Napier can take down the Utes in the swamp, that is going to be a massive statement right out of the gate. So we are certainly going to break down that game as we get closer. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's so many elements of this that we want to cover. And we are going to bring you Coach Billy Napier. We're actually supposed to have Billy Napier before, and unfortunately it couldn't work out with Coach's schedule. So we are going to have Billy Napier. We're going to talk to Mike Peterson, who kind of covers the gamut for us. He's sort of the embodiment of 1010XL because we're the flagship station of the Jaguars, home of the Florida Gators. Mike Peterson, obviously an outstanding Florida linebacker. He's in the UF Hall of Fame. He's now the current outside linebackers coach and alumni liaison. Also spent some time with the Jaguars and had an outstanding run here after being drafted by the Colts in the second round. Mike Peterson, one of the few really good Jaguar free agent signings that they've made in their franchise's history, and Mike was a second-team All-Pro here with the Jaguars. So looking forward to catching up with him. He was with South Carolina for a while prior to being talked into coming to Florida to work under Coach Napier. So really looking forward to talking to Mike and bringing you that Jacksonville tie-in with this as well. We're going to talk to Florida Athletics Director Scott Strickland, really the man that started all of this. Very difficult position for him. Who would have thought a year ago that Dan Mullen would no longer be the coach of the Florida Gators as we sat here today, particularly really of not his choosing. You might have understood it if somebody had said, well, Dan Mullen's not going to be the coach, you might have said, well, he might get an NFL job. Well, that didn't happen, obviously. And who would have thought that it would have ended the way it ended? But to Scott Strickland's credit, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. I think Dan Mullen was fired on a Saturday and Billy Napier was hired on like a Thursday. It was incredibly quick. And it's easy to see why. You know, I didn't know much about Billy Napier. I knew he was the hot name, but I hadn't really ever watched Louisiana Ragin' Cajun football, hadn't paid a lot of attention to it because, frankly, you didn't think Florida was going to be in the market for a coach until the Mullen era just fell apart. You know, so it's obviously you scared money don't make money was the first thing that jumped out at us and was a lot of fun. But the thing that really stuck with me is watching Billy Napier give his post-game speech to his team after they beat Appalachia State for the Sun Belt title, and to hear him talk about the game of football and the lessons in life that you can learn from the game of football. And then when he closed it and he said, I'm hopping on a plane and I'm going to the next stop, but I love every single one of you, and to have the team just erupt around him and tell him how much they loved him as well, I mean, it gives you chills. If he's able to do that in Gainesville, if he's able to build that kind of locker room, because he's going to have athletes, Florida's going to win big. They just are. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the old Wild West sheriff. He kind of reminds me of Wyatt Earp. You know, Billy Napier has this sort of cool, calm demeanor. He doesn't even really smile all that broadly. He kind of has a Wild West smile. He just kind of puts a little corner of his mouth up, and that's his smile. But I love it. And it's really been fun listening to him in his press conferences as the Gators coach to get a sense of his philosophies on the field and off. Thought it was really cool when he took all the players and had a company custom make 2 suits for them, for each of them. You know, talking about how, you know, for, you know, a lot of these guys, you know, some will go to the NFL, but a lot of them won't. That's just the nature of college football. Even at elite programs, you know, it's still a very small percentage of players that are drafted and really make a lot of money playing in the NFL. So to build up those life skills, very cool stuff. And certainly looking forward to talking to him about that and the players about that and everything as we head into the summer here on building Back the Gators. And again, there's so many elements of this program that I want to get into. You know, we talked a little bit about Billy Napier's backstory, and we'll get into that some for Gator fans out there that still don't know a lot about Billy Napier. Just on the surface, his dad was a high school coach. That's how Billy sort of found his love for the game as a young man. And his dad is unfortunately no longer with us. He passed away. But it was very cool hearing Billy Napier talk about the influence his father had on him when he got the job. And also just if you go back, there's several really good features out there. The Athletic wrote a couple while Billy Napier was at Louisiana still, and we saw the hot name. So they're good stories to read because they're not really written from a Florida perspective. They're written from just the perspective of this is why Billy Napier has established himself as one of the rising stars in the profession. Definitely worth a read. And we'll go through some of that as well as we go through this. The new facility comes online in August. I think it's been pushed back a little bit to August. I think it was supposed to open in June or July. My understanding of that is that Coach Napier actually had some changes that he wanted to make to it. So that moved it back a little bit, but it's still going to be a lot of fun to see that new facility. The Gators social team has done an outstanding job of tweeting out little teasers here and there. I love the one with Katie Turner and the 2 players, you know, getting to see the new locker room as the garage door kind of was elevated up. The Army, talking about Katie Turner, you know, the Army that Billy Napier has brought to Gainesville, all the hires that he's made. You know, let's go through that. Let's talk about that. With the infrastructure, how important is that? Does that lead to winning? Because it looks like you look at the other examples in college football, big infrastructures, those teams are winning. Billy Napier's talked about the Ritz-Carlton effect. Again, Katie Turner, her team, Bree Wade, you know, the making these prospects when they visit campus feel special. It's something that Florida just traditionally hasn't done. You can make the argument they didn't really need to do it in the 90s, but they've kind of do now with, where they stand as Billy Napier takes this program over compared to Georgia, certainly Alabama, who's got, I think, the greatest collegiate dynasty going right now, and I think is probably going to win another national title this year. Clemson, Ohio State, these programs that are coming into Florida, taking all the 5 stars, that just shouldn't happen. That's unnatural. It's an abomination, and it's got to stop. And I think Billy Napier is certainly the person to make that happen. And he has been very honest in saying that if I can't sign 25 good players here every year, you guys are going to be looking at a new coach. He is incredibly confident in his recruiting abilities. It's why I'm not at all concerned at this point. If you look at the national rankings, the Gators are somewhere around mid-40s. They just got a commitment actually today from a 3-star offensive lineman. But it's so early. Early signing day is not for another 6 months. And the important thing is Florida's funnel is so full of 4- and 5-star prospects, and that was never the case under Dan Mullen or Jim McElwain. And even under Will Muschamp, it was full of defensive stars, not so much offensive stars, which led to unbalanced teams. And as we know, those Muschamp defenses were really good, but the offenses were really hard to watch. It's recruiting. And then obviously with McElwain and Mullen, it just wasn't their strength. And so it is with Napier. Really excited to see how this class starts to come together, because if he just gets 12% of the players that are currently in the funnel that are taking visits to Florida, the 5 stars, the 4 stars, he gets 12% of those guys, he's going to have an outstanding class. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the roster, obviously. You guys are excited about the football season. So are we. Anthony Richardson, what are fair expectations? How great can he be? You would love a year from now, they're unveiling a statue. He's got that kind of ability, but obviously he's incredibly raw and inexperienced, and he's got to stay healthy. But we're going to get all into Anthony Richardson. That's going to be a lot of fun, hoping he can join us on Building Back the Gators. I think when you look at the long-term plan, and that's something that we'll get into with Coach Napier. What is the long-term plan moving forward? What are the details that go into that? This is a coach that has every phase of the offseason broken down into 8 or 9 segments. That's going to be a lot of fun to get into. The recruiting strides, the schedule. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for being with us. We're certainly fired up to bring you what we hope will be a very educational and fun podcast. So get you excited about the upcoming Gators football season. Again, this is Building the Gators Back. My name is Hayes Carlyon. Again, want to thank Harrell Harrell, my friends for so many years. Go back to high school with Holt and Julie Harrell. They're Jacksonville people, big enough to take on anyone, but small enough that if you call them, they're going to know who you are. They're incredibly Jacksonville-centric. This is where they are. These are the people they want to help. Trust me, you will not be in better hands than you will be with Harrell Harrell. Give them a call at 251-1111. Hopefully you won't need them, but if you or a loved one are injured, Harrell Harrell is where you need to be, 251-1111. For Graham Marsh, my name is Hayes Carlyon. Can't wait to have you guys back next week as we continue the podcast.